In this video, I'm going to give you 3 simple rules to help you master the social world. Hi everybody, I'm Bruce Lambert from How Communication Works. This is a channel where I teach you about communication skills so you can improve your relationships, succeed at work, and be more confident. All right, let's get into it. The social world is a confusing place. So I want to try to give you 3 rules that apply to every social situation, which will help you make more sense of it and help you improve your social skills and your outcomes in the social world. These are all based on sociologist Goffman's analysis of the social world. And he saw the social world as a stage. He used what they call the dramaturgical metaphor for the social world, which is that the social world is like a stage. So when you hear about these 3 rules, keep that metaphor in mind. The first rule is that life is a performance in the social world, so know your role. And not only know your role, know what the scene is about, know what the plot is, know what's going on in this scene, because every social situation is slightly different, and therefore the role you have to act out in each situation is different. So know your role in each situation and know what the plot is. So when you walk into a meeting or go on a date or join a group chat, you're stepping onto a stage metaphorically and playing a role. Goffman's most famous idea from his book, The Presentation of Self in Everyday Life, is that we present ourselves to others like actors in a play. And there's a front stage where you perform for an audience, be polite or put together, or the way you present yourself on social media. And then there's a backstage where you can relax and drop the act and be more yourself, the way you're singing in the shower or in your car or something like that. According to Goffman, whenever someone is watching, we're in a social encounter, you're sort of on front stage, following certain norms in that situation. Well, that's strictly true. Sometimes, like if you work in a restaurant, you're in the front of the house and then you're sort of on stage, and then you're in the back of the house and it's a different kind of performance. And there are different roles we act out in each of those different situations. But the moment you're sort of alone or in your inner circle, you can slip into this backstage mode and be in a more laid-back persona. But the important part of this rule is to know your role. In any social situation, ask yourself, what's my role here? What's the setting? What are the norms? What's dictated by this social situation? If you're at a job interview, your role is job candidate, and that calls for professionalism. If you're hanging out at the bar with your friends, then you're in the role of a friend, and it's much more casual. It's a different set of expectations and a different role that you're acting out. So be aware of the scene. Is this a sort of formal situation? Like, are you in court, or are you just hanging out with your friends at the bar or in your apartment or something like that? And when I say that we change our role for different situations, this is just how the social world works. It's not about being inauthentic. In each situation, we're being our authentic professional self. And then when we're with our friends, we're being our authentic friend self. And then when we're in court or at church or something like that, then we're being our authentic selves in those different roles. So each situation calls forth a different aspect of our authentic self. And the fact that our identities are multifaceted does not mean that one facet is an inauthentic one and the other is authentic. Although I suppose there could be situations where you are not invested at all in certain of your role performances, and those are kind of fake. But for most of us, we just have multifaceted identities. The different roles correspond to different social situations, and each of those is authentic in its own way. Goffman's key insight here is empowering. It's okay and normal to perform a bit. Everyone else is doing it too. The key social skill is to read the room, know what stage you're on, know what's happening in this scene, know what the plot is, and know where your role fits into the overall action of the drama so you can play your part in the way that's true and authentic to your values and respectful of the situation at the same time. Master this, and you'll be able to smoothly navigate everything from first dates to job interviews to every other kind of social situation. Rule 2, protect your dignity, protect everyone from embarrassment, including yourself. In everyday language, we talk about saving face and losing face, but what is it that we're saving and what is it that we're losing? Goffman defined this concept of face, what we save when we save face, what we lose when we lose face, as the positive social value that we claim for ourselves by acting in a particular way. You can think of it as your pride, your dignity, or your self-esteem. It's the image of yourself that you present to others. It's your public social self. It's your social reputation, the esteem or reputation you're trying to maintain in a given interaction by acting in a certain way. When you're interacting with people, you put on a certain line, Goffman calls it, or a stance. For example, being seen as funny, being seen as knowledgeable, being seen as strong, being seen as kind, etc. And we act out this line in order to present ourselves to people and be seen in a particular way. And we hope that other people accept our line and respect that image of you that we're offering up to people. But it doesn't always happen that way. Sometimes we behave in a way that's inconsistent with the version of ourselves that we'd like to be presenting. And this is when we lose face or get embarrassed. So I might like to present myself as a calm, cool, and collected, college professor. I walk out in front of the classroom and I begin to deliver my lecture. And little do I know, my fly is unzipped and my shirt tail is hanging out of my fly, and I'm really, really embarrassed. Or there's a piece of food stuck here, or there's a big stain on my shirt, or in some way, my actual presentation is at odds with the version of myself that I intend to be presenting. And when that's noticed, when it becomes publicly obvious that this is true, I lose face, or I become embarrassed, or I get humiliated. So, imagine you tell a joke and nobody laughs, or you share an idea and then somebody corrects you and it turns out to be fake news or misinformation. In these moments, we lose face. The positive image of ourselves that we're trying to present is dented or harmed or spoiled. And if we feel embarrassed or we feel ashamed, we feel humiliated. And Goffman says, we're emotionally attached to face. And that's why embarrassment, loss of face, or being out of face, as he says, feels so hurtful, and why we're often so scared to go into social encounters just for fear of losing face. So if an interaction goes well and affirms our self-image, we feel great. We're all puffed up. I am who I claim to be, But if it goes badly, it undermines our self-image. We feel hurt. We feel sad. We feel anxious. And we feel a loss of self-esteem, a loss of self-confidence. This is why embarrassment can feel so intense. It's not just about the little thing that happened in that situation, the saying a wrong word or spilling something or tripping or something like that. It's about the loss of identity, and we're so emotionally attached to our identity that loss feels very personal and harmful. So the rule here has two sides. On the one hand, we have to try to conduct ourselves in a way where we have dignity. So we shouldn't ever do anything intentionally that would embarrass ourselves. This means, trying to conduct ourselves in a way that's appropriate to the situation, that adheres to the reasonable social norms and so on. That's what it means to act with poise or dignity or maturity or social skill. The other side of this is that we shouldn't allow anyone else to be embarrassed. So in order for social encounters to be safe, we have to feel reasonably confident that if we do slip up and begin to embarrass ourselves, others will pretend not to notice, or others will help us out of the situation and help us save face. A huge part of social skill is not putting people in situations where they lose face, or if they lose face in a way that no one can prevent, we help them out of it. We minimize the threat to face. We minimize the embarrassment. We pretend not to notice, or we immediately change the subject, or we help them out, or we say it happens all the time. We do all these things to minimize the damage done by embarrassment or loss of face. So if your friend spills coffee on their shirt, you don't say, "Oh my God, you stained your shirt," in front of everybody else. You might quietly hand them a napkin, even make a light joke, allowing them to recover without feeling embarrassed or even anyone noticing. Goffman calls this collaboration in face work. So we work together to make sure neither one of us loses face, neither one of us gets embarrassed or humiliated. And when we can count on people to collaborate in face work, social situations are much safer. It feels much safer to be in a situation with a person who we know kind of has our back and won't allow us to be humiliated. Now, you might be thinking, well, I know someone who loves to see me humiliated, or they try to humiliate me, or they want to see me embarrassed, or when I get embarrassed, they make it worse. They like nothing more than to see me lose face. There are people like that. I'm not going to pretend they don't exist. But we say about these people that these people have no class. These people have no social skill. In a way, these people are sort of like animals. They don't belong in the social world with the rest of us humans. To be human, to have dignity, is to not allow other people to lose face. That's why this rule is so important, that we have to collaborate with one another. This is what we call tact, or social skill, or the social graces, or poise. All of these are words to describe this ability both to carry ourselves in a way that doesn't make others cringe, and then if anything happens to upset the social equilibrium, we're there to try and restore the equilibrium. If anyone gets embarrassed, we downplay it, avoid it, etc. So if someone forgets your name, you tactfully gloss it over, and maybe you ask someone quietly to say your name out loud so they remember it, or you introduce yourself to them. That's you don't say, "Oh, you've forgotten my name, have you? I guess I'm not very important to you." That's no class, no skill, no poise, no social skill. You say, "Oh, don't worry about it. I'm Alex, by the way," or "I'm Bruce." So to save them from feeling foolish, you help them out. Similarly, if you make a mistake, a gracious friend might say, "Oh, I do that all the time. Don't worry about it," to help you save face. Skilled communicators laugh with people, not at them, and generally give other people the benefit of the doubt. The golden rule of face work is treat others' pride as delicately as you treat your own. The bottom line, in any social encounter, everyone's walking around with an invisible ego meter or face meter. A likable, emotionally intelligent person keep those meters in the green. This means showing respect and not needlessly challenging someone's self-image. If criticism or a difficult truth is necessary, they deliver it privately or gently. Remember, face, our identity, which we're emotionally attached to, is fragile. Most interactions go smoothly in the social world only because all the participants are working hard to keep each other from losing face. When you consistently help each other save face, two great things happen. First, people feel comfortable around you since they know you're not a threat to their dignity. They know you have their back, and they're more likely to return the favor to you if you slip up and embarrass yourself. It's a win-win in social life. Everyone looks good and feels that their dignity is being respected. Rule 3, follow the scripts. They keep interactions smooth. Have you ever wondered why we say, "Hi, how are you?" even though we don't really expect someone to tell us how they are, or why we feel the need to apologize profusely when we bump into somebody, even if we just do it by accident? These are social rituals, kind of automatic scripts, which we all follow to keep interactions running smoothly. Goffman viewed our day-to-day interactions as a kind of interaction ritual. In fact, this is the title of one of his most famous books, Interaction Ritual. Now, we think of rituals normally in the context of the military or a church or mosque or synagogue or religious rituals, where, very, very scripted, formal, symbolic events. But what Goffman was trying to say is the social world is full of these semi-scripted, symbolic actions as well. And whereas in a religious setting, we might be engaged in these symbolic rituals in order to pay homage to God, in the social situation, we're trying really just to maintain one another's dignity. That's the symbolic significance of these social rituals. So in this context, this doesn't mean chanting or incense or prayers. It means we perform little symbolic acts that honor each other's social worth or dignity. Think of things like greetings or polite phrases, please, thank you, sorry. Politeness is the classic example of symbolic social rituals, which are not important for their literal meaning, but they're important for the symbolic significance that they convey, which is that you are a person with dignity, and by acting out this ritual, I convey that I recognize your dignity as a human being. So much of ordinary social life is routinized. That is, there's a routine. Think of encounters with people when you go and get your coffee, or when you greet them in the morning at the office, or when you get on public transportation, or even the rituals that you have when you leave the house with your family and kids or friends, and when you return in the evening. There's a kind of script to these interactions. So when you meet someone new, the script might be smile, say hello, ask a simple question, talk about the weather. When you leave the party, it's say thanks to the host, say goodbye to others. We usually follow these scripts without even thinking about it. And we only really notice them when someone doesn't follow along. So imagine you say hello and someone doesn't respond, or you offer your hand to shake and they refuse. It feels really shocking. And the thing about a lot of these symbolic social rituals is when they happen normally, we barely notice them. But when the scripts are violated, we think, oh, something's gone terribly wrong. So try going into an elevator and facing the back of the elevator, or going into an elevator when there's only one other person in the elevator and standing right next to them. Or walk up to a fast food counter and say to the person, "May I help you?" These are all violations of these simple scripts or social rituals, and you'll see how much they disrupt people if you violate them. So Goffman calls these rules of conduct. They guide our behavior in most social situations. And most of the time, we don't even really have to think about them. We just sort of know them implicitly. But if someone breaks the rules, say they stand way too close to you in the elevator, or they overshare the first time you meet them, everyone gets uncomfortable. The whole situation kind of loses its balance, and that balance needs to be restored. So the rule here is honor the ritual, show respect. Goffman identified two kinds of ritual that are particularly important. One he called deference, and the other called demeanor. Deference is showing respect to other people, And demeanor is acting in such a way to deserve respect. Deference is how you show respect to another person, like letting them speak first or using polite greetings. And demeanor is how we show that we're worthy of respect, like presenting ourselves as well-mannered, respectful, composed, by the way we dress, by the way we carry ourselves, by the way we speak, by having good hygiene, etc. All of these are part of our demeanor. So in practice, following the script covers both deference and demeanor. For example, a handshake or a friendly wave is a presentation ritual, Goffman calls it. It shows goodwill to the other person, that's deference, and that you're a polite person, this is part of your demeanor. An avoidance ritual might be something like not bringing up a person's awkward past, essentially respecting their personal space or their boundaries. All these little acts add up to what Goffman calls keeping the interaction order or the expressive order. It's a state where everyone can feel affirmed and the social situation stays comfortable. So what's the point of all this scripted social interaction? We might think, oh, this makes us all stilted, or we're all just puppets on a string, or we're all just slaves to conformity, but I don't think it's like that at all. These rituals have symbolic meaning. Goffman said that the interaction order, there's a moral dimension to it. He called it the moral order of everyday interaction. And why is it moral? It's about right or wrong, because it's ultimately about the dignity of individual human beings. Ultimately, these interaction rituals are about acknowledging each other's worth as human beings. Something as small as saying, excuse me, when you pass someone and bump into them, or making eye contact, or nodding to a coworker. These are tiny rituals which reaffirm one another's humanity. Goffman uses the term ritual equilibrium, which means a balanced state where everyone's face is intact and respected. He also calls this maintaining the expressive order. When someone messes up, let's say they accidentally insult someone or violate a norm, there are even ritualized fixes, apologies, or what Goffman calls repair mechanisms, which restore the ritual equilibrium. We often say sorry not just to express regret, but as a magical phrase to mend the social fabric, to restore the ritual equilibrium. If the apology is accepted with it, no worries, the ritual is complete and harmony is restored. So knowing these scripts and participating in them sincerely makes you a socially graceful, poised person. It's not about being stiff, it's not about being fake, it's not about being authentic. You can still be uniquely individual and totally genuine and still say, nice to meet you with a smile, or excuse me, or I'm sorry in the appropriate situation, even if you're a little bit anxious. So the ritual gives both you and the other person a kind of blueprint for what to do, and that reduces anxiety for everyone and makes the social world a safer place. And it also gives us a way through these simple rituals to acknowledge to one another, you are a worthwhile human being with dignity, and by them acting out these rituals, they give the same message to you. So social life comes with unwritten scripts that evolve to help us get through all these situations without too much friction. By honoring these scripts, using polite greetings, turn-taking in conversation, showing thanks, avoiding over-familiarity or too much disclosure too soon, we're showing that we get it, that we get these rules. We respect others, we respect ourselves. And people who master these little rituals are often seen as charming, or easy to talk to, or charismatic, or poised, or skillful, because interacting with them feels easy and safe and smooth and respectful. When everyone plays their part in these interaction rituals, it creates a positive atmosphere where everyone's dignity is maintained. So these three rules boil down to a simple idea. Be mindful that every social interaction is a kind of collaborative performance. Life is a stage, or at least social life is a stage. We have to stay aware of the role that we're playing, what the situation calls for. And everyone has faced this positive social value that we claim for ourselves, a desired identity. So be kind, help others save face, and don't do anything to intentionally cause yourself to lose face. And remember these little rituals and courtesies that act as the social glue that holds our interactions together. Goffman's sociology of everyday interaction can sound academic at times, but as we've seen, it's really very practical. It explains why saying please and thank you and I'm sorry and excuse me matters. It explains why we get embarrassed, why being called authentic isn't an excuse to ignore social norms. By understanding the performance aspect of social life, you can be more socially skillful and act empathetically. So next time you find yourself at a party, in a meeting, or chatting with a friend, keep these rules in mind. You'll notice the stage and the scripts and the rituals in action, and you'll be able to navigate them like a pro. The result, smoother conversations, better first impressions, stronger relationships. When you master the art of playing yourself, the whole social world opens up to you. Now go forth and enjoy the drama that is the social world.